This is the Vaguely Nerdy Podcast, where every week this brother-sister duo gets together to discuss the box office, latest film and TV scoops, along with our latest movie or show review, and what we're getting into next. We are your hosts, Cheryl.
And Jay.
So this week we have our review for What If, which wrapped up maybe a week or so ago. But this is what we got on deck for this episode, and Jay is going to quiz me and see if I'm smarter than a fifth grader.
Okay. So this is What If Season 2 trivia.
Okay.
Okay, so very simple. There is one of the episodes in Season 2 was originally planned to be in Season 1, but had to be pushed back to Season 2 because of the pandemic. Which of these episodes would have been in Season 1?
I think I do know the answer to this. Oh. It's the What If Tony Stark landed on Sakaar episode?
Yes.
I only know that because it's Gamora focused, right?
Yes, because it ends with Gamora killing Thanos.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't remember why they moved it. Pacing, timing?
Well, if you think about it, that episode ended with Gamora killing Thanos, which would have made more sense why Gamora showed up with Thanos' armor
in that
finale.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, where she killed Thanos.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that was quick and to the point. Yeah. And I got it right. Yay! I never get it right. Okay, so let's get into this week's episode.
Welcome, fellow movie buffs. I'm Jay.
I'm Cheryl.
Listen in as we break down movie and TV shows, tell you what's in the plot, and hear if we think you should have watched it when you had the chance.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so this week our agenda is pretty short. I wonder if we're going to make shortest episode ever today.
I
don't know. We get real.
Every time we say that, we have.
I know we get real chatty. Right now, our shortest episode is Totally Killer, which is 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Yes.
So we'll see. We'll know at the end of the episode whether we're talking out the side of our neck or not. But our agenda for today is just Marvel news. We got a couple uncasting again, kind of technically. Uncasting. Somebody uncasted themselves, and then we got a rumor about an uncasting that we talked about in the previous episode. So, Stephen Yuen is no longer playing Sentry in the Thunderbolts due to scheduling conflicts. If you don't know who Stephen Yuen is, he is in... I know him from Beef, which I didn't finish, but he was also in that one popular show that I didn't watch, Walking Dead.
Yes.
He's from Walking Dead. He's from something else too, I think.
He's from Minari, which won Best Picture.
Was he in Nope?
Yes, he was in Nope.
Also in
Nope. But you're
Nope.
Skipping something very obvious that you do watch.
That he was in? Oh, he's Invincible. He's Mark
yes, he's
in
Mark.
Invincible.
He
yes.
voices Mark in Invincible, who's the main
He
character.
looks nothing like Mark, which I was like, I totally
He also looks nothing like Sentry, but...
Right. So what's interesting is Marvel never officially came out and said that he was playing Sentry. Sentry is a villain, correct? Or is he more of an anti-hero?
Sentry is...
Is he like a like a Black Adam?
Sentry has a split personality.
Oh.
So Sentry is a man-made Superman, basically. The government was like, we should pretty much be able to make our own superheroes.
Like a Captain America again?
Kind of.
Okay.
But it's more like scientists were like, oh, clearly if Bruce Banner has the ability to make the Hulk, we can do what we can to make a superhero that's actually functional. So the government set out to create their own version of Superman, even though Superman does not exist in this world. But you can't make a person.
Right.
So he had mental health issues.
Oh, they picked up somebody off the street?
I have to reread, but I think Sentry was just like made.
Oh.
And
like in a pod?
And because he was made and not well adjusted, he had a split personality that was evil. And that's why it was kind of like a Bruce Banner thing. So Sentry is a good character, but he does have like he got issues. Evil personality. Yes, he has definite issues. Okay. See, it's the exact same with Adam Warlock, but they have not explored that yet in the MCU. They may not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then the reason why you say Steven Yeun looks nothing like Sentry, because Sentry is a blonde-headed white man with long blonde hair.
Yes.
At that. So, and it's funny because every time they do any type of race bending with characters, people get all upset and to get out their pitchforks. I didn't hear much about him being casted in this. People seem more excited, and I wonder if maybe that's because Marvel didn't like officially say it and we were always just waiting for the official word. It would have been pointless to argue about it anyway. I love when I'm pro race bending characters here, but a lot of people seem to be either saddened that he's no longer playing it or kind of like, oh, that's okay because I kind of forgot this movie was coming out anyway.
So, correction, Sentry was a person.
Okay.
He was a drug addict, but he was a person.
I wonder if they would have added that element.
They gave him superpowers, just like you said, like Captain America. They gave him superpowers. He developed a split personality. And there was Sentry, who was a good guy, but then he had a dark side that was called the Void. That was
that's what the Void is that people were mentioning.
Sentry. So I think the whole concept of the Thunderbolts was that they made, I think the concept of the Thunderbolts film was going to be that they made the Sentry, kind of like the Suicide Squad, where they had the Enchantress and they had her under control, but they realized that
Oopsie.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then they had to send in this group of rogues to go take them down, because if they sent the heroes would know the government was trying to make superheroes.
It's interesting that now Marvel was going to I'm using copy in quotes because they all pick off each other. Was going to copy DC when typically it's DC beat Marvel to the punch on something before Marvel beat DC.
Yeah, because when they announced the Thunderbolts, everybody was like, "Oh, this is
Suicide Squad." So he's out. Unfortunately, although there were one particular scooper said that he saw him in the suit, and the suit looked really good.
Yeah, so I think...
And then 24 hours later, he dropped out of the movie, so that was funny.
I think the reason there was no controversy around the race bending of this character is because there were a lot of... People were highlighting the fact that he plays Mark in Invincible. So in this movie, he was going to kind of play Mark and Omni-Man in the same role.
So they were rolling with it.
So it was kind of like rolling with it because of the meta irony of it.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah, I think that's why nobody really cared that they recasted him Asian. And he was going to be blonde, but yeah.
Funny how that works. Anywho, he did say when the news first came out, people were kind of like saying, oh, he didn't want to be in it because Marvel was going down in flames now, but he did further clarify and say it was due to scheduling conflicts. He had another quote where he said it was really hard to send an email to say that he wasn't doing it, and he also said that he still wants to do a Marvel movie in the future, and I guarantee you they will find a space for him. I almost would be surprised if he didn't show up in something else.
Yeah,
or absolutely. This movie, because they worked out the scheduling conflict. Who knows?
Because they have no script. I don't think they have not begun filming yet, and now they have no villain
filming. So. It seemed like this, according to Wyatt Russell, it seemed like they have a script of sorts, maybe, but they don't have a villain. So they can't start shooting unless they have somebody to play a character. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, they need to get on it quickly, because
this is a 2025 movie. I think late fourth quarter 2025. So they got a little wiggle room. They got some time.
Yeah, but the people that they casted in this are working actors.
Yes,
so they need to get a move on it before because Florence Pugh's not sitting.
I don't think any of them are sitting. Sebastian Stan also is not sitting either.
Wyatt Russell's career is back in motion. So
I think that this news is just news to us, and they probably already have somebody. We just don't know who it is. If I had to guess.
So we will see.
It's probably going to keep its schedule because they're like, oh, this news came out, but we already have the person's contract signed. So speaking of Marvel villains, earlier episode ago, or maybe 2 episodes ago, it was announced that Jonathan Majors is no longer playing Kang, but a rumor, heavy emphasis on a rumor.
Yes, very heavy.
Is that Coleman Domingo is rumored, saying it again, they want him to play Kang, apparently.
Yes. So Coleman Domingo, if you're unfamiliar with him, he was in Reston, which just came out. He was also Mr. in The Color Purple that just came out.
He's in Euphoria.
And he was also one of the antagonists in the Candyman reboot.
He was. Yeah. He was. Somebody else said he was in Walking Dead. Was he in Walking Dead?
I did not watch enough of Walking Dead to know that.
Okay.
But I do know that if he does get cast as Kang, that means everybody that was in Candyman will be in the MCU.
I love
because
it.
Yaya is Wonder Man, Tiana is
even the director,
Captain Marvel, and that would mean Coleman would be Kang, so that'd be funny.
I would love that.
Yeah.
When this came out, though, you were like, I don't know about that. You were feeling a little on the fence.
Coleman Domingo is a different type of actor than Jonathan Majors, so I think he would be a completely different type of Kang, and not like he would be like, oh, there's so many versions of Kang, of course they're different. It's like, no, he's a different
he's just a different
actor.
person. It doesn't matter who they get. They're going to have to find somebody who has range. And in my opinion, Coleman got it. Different range.
Different type of range.
You're right.
Yeah.
I do think they are different actors, but whoever they get is going to have to be somebody who
of
is
that caliber. I think it's in the right ballpark. It's just a completely different type of actor. Because Jonathan Majors, unfortunately, is a really good actor.
There's nothing we can do about that, but I agree.
That can be done about that. He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
And so is Coleman Domingo. It would just feel different, but I don't know. That's part of acting.
You're right.
Part of acting is
I would like to see it.
So different.
I would like to see it just because he is so different and what his spin on it would be. Like, I can't see him.
And he's a much more mature person.
Yes, I can't. It's funny because I can't see Coleman Domingo playing Victor Timely. So
no, because I've never seen Coleman Domingo. Victor Timely was quirky.
He was very quirky.
Yeah.
And so was He Who Remains.
Yeah.
Only person that wasn't quirky is Kang. And that's because he was just straight up villain, manipulative.
Like, I can see him in the suit.
Person. Well, you can see anybody in the suit, but I don't know. It'll be whoever they get is going to be the most interesting choice. I'll just put it that way. And I don't even know who it is. But I would be on board with this if this is what we got.
He was in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom with Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman.
Okay.
He was also in the Zola movie.
Oh, I didn't see Zola.
Which was an A24 film.
So he got range. He
has range.
It would just be so interesting to jump from Majors to him. And we would just be like, this is the same person. Okay, we got it. Same character.
But this also may not even happen, so.
It may not. Of course, after the news came out, everybody's opinions were flying of who they want. I think they know who they want. It's probably just a matter of working it out.
Or if they even want to go forward with Kang or not.
They better, or I'm going to be upset. And the podcast listeners are going to hear about it.
Yeah, it would add credence to the fact that a lot of people wasted their time in the phase if you completely shift
I
focus.
am putting more 10 toes down and that they better stick to Kang. They better. I'm going to be upset. I'm still going to watch whatever comes next. But that is all we got for Marvel news. That's all we have for news in general.
Yeah, this is
But our review is also Marvel related. So I don't even know if we need to take a quick break. But we're going to put in our little break sound anyway and then get to our review for What If.
Okay, so this is our review for What If Season 2. It released on December 22nd, 2023, a total of 9 episodes that were released once per day. When this was announced, you had mentioned that they missed the 12 Days of Christmas opportunity.
They did.
But maybe they just didn't have 3 extra episodes, so that's
Which
fine.
is good. I don't want them to put out 3 extra episodes just for a gag. To make 12 days.
It was written by A.C. Bradley, who also wrote a lot of the first season of What If as well. Primarily directed by Brian Andrews, who, that name sounds familiar.
I don't know why that name sounds familiar. I'm going to click on his name real quick. Samurai Jack. Star Wars Clone Wars. My Life as a Teenage Robot. The Powerpuff Girls.
So
Iron Man 2.
Okay, so he's good. He's good at directing animation.
Yes. John Carter. He's worked on John Carter.
I don't see any of that here, but he's good at directing animation.
He is not new, and he's also not new to Marvel. He's been he's a storyboard artist. For all the things I named, he's mostly either a writer or a storyboard artist, so he's pretty good.
It has a pretty extensive voice cast, but it's probably be better if we just went per episode.
That works. I'm on board with that.
There's so many different people in this. And cameos.
Right.
A runtime of about 30 minutes per episode.
Yeah.
About a half an hour with no commercials. No budget because Disney does their best to not share that information as often as they can. No box office because it is a streaming show. So it also has no cinema score because it did not go to theaters. But it does have Rotten Tomatoes score. It has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 86% critic side and an audience score of 68%. and you put a note next to the audience score.
My note says suspect review bombing. So I actually looked because I hadn't looked at this prior to. So I was a little shocked to see it was 68. And a lot of the reviews are, one, not in English. And not to say that people that don't speak English can't leave Rotten Tomato scores, but the prevalence of that was a little odd. The second thing was a lot of people pointed out that they didn't like the fact that Peggy Carter was in this. And there was references to being woke, liberal. I was like, yeah, I don't think these reviews are like legit people who watch the show. So I am not going to take this audience score as face value.
Yeah, most of all, which is strange, not all, but most of the negative reviews are like in a foreign language.
Yeah, see, told you.
But we talked a couple episodes about them basically it was clear that they were centering Peggy Carter as like the leader of this multiverse set of Avengers that they pull from different timelines. And we know how comic book people react when you center a woman in anything.
Yes, child. It's getting worse actually, and I don't like it.
Yeah. So moving on
to more positive
things. We would typically use this opportunity to summarize the plot, but
there's 9 different plots.
I mean, they definitely do the same thing they do in season 1, where there's like a through line that they pull through some of the episodes, not all of them. By the time you get to like the last episode,
so some of them connect a teeny bit, and then some of them are actually standalone episodes.
Yes.
So do we want to talk through each one?
Yeah, so we can just do each episode and the synopsis, and then we can just do like things we liked.
Boom. I love it. All right. So first episode that came out on the 22nd was What If Nebula Joined the Nova Corps? So this one is about Nebula joins the Xandar police force, essentially. Isn't that what you would call Nova Corps?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, what's his name? The Kree guy comes and tries to take over. So
Jan Rock? Who's Jude Law's character?
No, the guy with the green on, with the
Ronan the Accuser.
Yes. So Ronan comes, tries to tear up some stuff, but they basically close Xandar off.
Yeah, so
in like a bubble.
In Guardians 1, there was a scene where Ronan was showing up to the planet and they used like the yellow shield thing with the ships. So they basically did the same thing here, but they covered the entire planet. For like a significant amount of time, like 5 years. I think it was 5 years.
And basically this episode is about what happens in that 5 years, and there's a plot line relating to the Nova Corps and Gamora. And what's Jude Law's character's name again?
Jan Rock. Yeah.
Who I didn't know was going to be in this.
I didn't know that either. So, and he voiced himself as well.
He did.
So, the cast on this episode was Karen Gillian returning as Nebula, Jude Law returned as Jan Rock, Michael Rooker was in the episode for a brief cameo as Yondu, Seth Green as Howard the Duck, Taika Waititi as Korg, Peter Serafinowicz as Garthan Saul.
You pronounced that so flawlessly.
I'm familiar with Peter.
Okay, I was like, is he gonna get it? Oh, he got it.
Julian Grossman as Nova Prime, who replaced Glenn Close.
Oh, okay.
And Fred Tatasciore as Groot. I know Fred Tatasciore as well because he's basically voiced a character in every Final Fantasy game since they started using voice acting.
Listen,
and he's also Bender.
If it works, it works.
I believe he's Bender from Futurama.
Okay. So you like this episode because you said it gave you Blade Runner vibes?
Yeah, it gave me... No, he is not Bender. There's somebody else I'm thinking of, Bender. The guy who does Bender also does voice acting for Final Fantasy games as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it looks like a Blade Runner-esque movie, and they do like the synth music, Blade Runner music. And not Gamora, Nebula's narrating through it. Yeah, she's a detective, so she's narrating kind of like Harrison Ford, because Blade Runner was about Harrison Ford being a detective who was hunting down rogue AI robots.
I will admit I've never seen Blade Runner.
Even though that's not the plot of this movie, it was clear it was inspired by that. And this was one of my favorite episodes.
This wasn't one of my favorite, but I did like that we got to see Nebula doing something different. So basically Nebula comes and joins the Nova Corps. So she's quote unquote good and not bad now. And like you said, she's a detective trying to figure out who is trying to basically open up the Xandar back up.
Because basically Xandar closed itself off
right,
to try to wait Ronan out.
Yes,
and
yes.
because they were isolated from the rest of the universe,
They start fighting.
They turned in on each other.
Right, because they got nowhere to go.
Crime went crazy. Basically, Xandar turned into like Gotham City.
Correct. Very, and I guess we should say we're spoiling it. All these episodes,
Yeah.
so we're not doing like a non-spoiler spoiler. Come to find out, it was Nova Prime.
Yeah, it was fake Glenn Close.
Yes, it was fake Glenn Close that was basically working with Jan Rog and Ronan to open it back up because she was tired.
Yeah,
essentially, that's what I got.
Crime was getting crazy. She had enough. They had been isolated for like 5 years. She had enough.
She had enough. But basically, Nova Prime dies. There's a big fight. Nova Prime dies, and then Nebula basically gets to continue to be the police savior of the crime fighter. She's like Batman by the end of the episode.
She teams up with Howard the Duck, Korg, Groot, Meek as well, and that's something that's a theme that's in a lot of these episodes. Most of them is there's always a team up.
Yes,
and a lot of these episodes it's built getting the team together again, but it's different people. And I think that was fun. And the reason I really liked this episode was because of the mystery element. And I did not
I did not see it either.
I did not see the betrayal coming. I could have assumed Jan Rog was bad because he was originally a villain.
He double crosses Nebula, which is pretty obvious to see. I was like, she breaking this man out of jail. This is not going to go well.
Yeah. But
who actually was behind all of it? You're right. I did not see that coming.
Okay. So next episode. What if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes?
This one was kind of based in the... Now, would you say this was based in the past?
Yeah, so it takes place in 1988.
Oh, it literally says that. Okay.
Peggy is still... I think she's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
She seems like it. She's not... Yeah, she seems like she's like Fury in a sense.
She's at least running... She's at least in charge of running the heroes. So
yes.
She's at least Fury.
Yes. Yeah. So Peggy's in this. Howard Stark is in this. So Tony Stark's dad is in this. Bill Foster, who I had to look up because I forgot who he was.
That's the original Giant Man.
Oh, and I thought... Okay, so Bill Foster is voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, and I thought he was playing Ghost Dad. From Ant-Man.
Bill Foster's from the comics. He's Giant
Man. Okay.
Before Ant-Man, in the comics, Hank Pym's only power was shrinking things.
Okay.
And he had a partner named Bill Foster whose power was to get bigger. And then eventually,
knew that.
I think Bill Foster died in Civil War. And Ant-Man, that's when Ant-Man started doing bigger and smaller.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Listen, learn something. I was like, oh, that's Ghost Dad because he's voiced by Lawrence Fishburne. So Peggy Carter's in this. Howard Stark's in this. Bill Foster's in this. King T'Chaka is in this. So this is not T'Challa. This is his dad. Bucky Barnes is in this. And Bucky Barnes has been around forever, so he's allowed. He's old. And then Dr. Wendy Lawson, who is Marvel, right? She's pre-Captain Marvel.
She is... I can never think of the actress's name, but you always do.
Annette Bening.
Yes.
She's Annette. Okay. And then Hank Pym, who is a younger Hank Pym, because Hope is also in this, and this is Kid Hope, not older Hope.
But still voiced by Michael Douglas.
Still voiced by... Yeah, so voice cast, we can go over that. Michael Douglas plays himself, Hank Pym. Haley Atwell plays Peggy Carter. John Statterley plays... Howard Stark. Kurt Russell plays Ego. Chris Hemsworth, I forgot, was in this. Was he in? He was in this. So Thor's in this. Lawrence Fishburne already mentioned that. Sebastian Stan plays Bucky. I'm not going to say.
Atandwa Kani, I think.
There it is. He plays King T'Chaka, which I did not realize that he is related to, what's his dad's name? John Connie.
He's the actual son of King T'Chaka in Black Panther.
Correct. And then we have Madeline McGraw, who plays Hope Van Dyne. I'm not familiar with her. I'm trying to think who else notable. I think that's all our notable people. So a lot of return A-list actors from the original are in this one. This one was not my favorite.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
It might have been
It kind of fell apart in the middle.
Yeah, so basically this one is about Peter Quill. So Kid Peter comes back home, and the premise is basically he wants to come back home because this is where his mom is from, As you have, if you haven't watched Guardians of the Galaxy, Peter Quill is actually from Earth, and Ego is his dad. Ego is a Celestial, so he's crazy. He's all the dads in the MCU are crazy, but he basically comes back home. He wants to find his mom or be where his mom was, but his instinct is to attack the OG or Avengers. I think he was saying that Ego could control him. Okay.
Ego could take control of him, and whenever he was attacking, it wasn't really him, it was Ego.
Okay. Fair enough. It did fall apart what I did like was the Avengers. Like, I liked T'Chaka. I liked Bill Foster. I like Hank. I like all of them working together. I like
the heroes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I like the heroes. I don't particularly think I like the storyline of this one, especially when Hope tries to help Peter Quill. He's obviously
right apart for me.
He's like, Peter Quill's tearing stuff up, y'all. He's not like being a little kid. He is decimating towns and cities.
He killed multiple planets, and it was kind of like the thing of, oh, well, they finally get him, they lock him up, and she's in Hope, who's also a kid. They're like the same age, I guess.
They lock him up Loki style from Avengers 1.
But he's fine. He's just sitting in a room,
like Loki
he's
was.
Not like
yep.
locked in a guillotine like he should have been, but she just sees him sitting in a room that's locked, and she's like, oh, well, you're obviously a world-ending weapon, but you're just a kid like me, so I'm gonna let you out because I see the goodness in all kids.
I didn't get that.
Fell right, the bottom fell right out of me.
Right, that was like the last maybe 10 or 15 minutes of the episode, and I was like, I don't know why
it's like,
she did that.
Girl, your dad is Ant-Man, which
right?
means you have an
You
awareness.
know better.
Exactly. You have an awareness of what. Better. If your dad has to be a superhero, that means you have an awareness of what superhero threats look like.
He's in this contraption where he's not supposed to get out.
Yeah. So, when she let him out and
you were like no longer interested.
They defeated the villain with the power of friendship. I was like, nope.
Yes. So the heroes win. We don't know where Bucky goes at the end, but I think it's Christmas or something.
What happens to Bucky?
Bucky just pieces out because there's a moment in this episode where Bucky is about to take out Peter Quill.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's thinking
which would have been the right thing
to do.
Yeah.
And then Howard Stark is like, Steve wouldn't have wanted you to do this. And of course, Bucky's like, oh, Steve, my homie, I miss him. So he like pieces out somewhere and doesn't kill Peter Quill as he probably should have. And then I guess Peter Quill just gets to hang out with the rest of the Avengers. I guess.
So.
Yeah, not my favorite.
No, not my favorite.
But the next one, I think, was one of my favorites. So the episode 3 was What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas? This is a direct play on one of my favorite Christmas movies, Die Hard.
Yes.
It is literally Avengers version of Die Hard, but not the Avengers are in this. So the OG Avengers, I'll do cast first on this one. So Jon Favreau plays Happy Hogan / the Freak. Kat Dennings plays herself as Darcy. Kobe Smulders is back as Maria Hill.
It was nice seeing Kobe again.
It was not, R.I.P. It was nice seeing Kobe in animated version.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell comes back as Justin Hammer. Chris Hemsworth is in here again as Thor. Mark Ruffalo plays Bruce. Jeremy Renner is Clint. Mick Wingart is Tony Stark. So Robert Downey Jr. did not come back. Mick does a really good job as Tony, by the way.
He does.
Sounds just like Tony Stark.
Also,
so
does the next person.
I was going to say, so does Lake Bell. Lake Bell does a fantastic Natasha Romanoff. So Scarlett Johansson's not back, but Lake Bell picks up and runs with her voice work for this. Josh Keaton plays Steve Rogers, who is not my favorite voice actor for Steve.
Steve doesn't really have does Captain America have a distinct voice?
But Chris Evans does.
Does he?
I feel like I can tell Chris Evans when he talks. And maybe that's what's throwing me off. But we can get into that. Because Captain America shows up in several episodes, and every time he shows up, I'm like, where is Steve? Where is Chris Evans? What was he doing that he could not show up to this? I think that's mostly it as far as famous folk for this one. So most of the actors who were in the original Avengers came back for this.
Yes.
This was one of my favorites because it's literally Die Hard.
With Avengers happening in the background.
Exactly. So Hulk, Happy, and Darcy and Maria are the main characters in this one. And it's basically, if you ever seen Die Hard, there's a takeover during the Christmas party of a villain who wants to get his hands on a weapon. In this case, Justin Hammer is back. He wants to get his hands on Stark Tech, I guess. We know Justin Hammer doesn't like Tony Stark, hates his guts.
Yeah, that was his same motivation. And I like that they, even though the characters are in different circumstances, a lot of them end up being the same type of people.
Yes.
Because that was Justin Hammer's main motivation in the first, in Iron Man 2, which was his first appearance, was he was trying to steal, and he was trying to get his hands on an Iron Man suit so he could copy its tech to make his stuff better.
Right. And then I guess the big thing in this one is Happy Hogan actually gets, they want to steal Hulk blood. That's why they break in.
Yeah.
They want to steal Hulk blood, but accidentally Happy gets stuck with the needle that has Hulk blood, and he turns into the Freak.
Yes.
So he basically morphs into a purple version of the Hulk through this episode, and that is how he saves, quote unquote, Christmas. There's a couple times where he tries to call the Avengers for help, but they're all busy doing Christmas stuff. Like Natasha is a ballerina who's fighting another Russian ballerina. I think Tony and Steve are being elves and Santa Claus. I don't know what Thor was doing, but he was busy doing something. So he keeps trying to call them, and they're all.
Hawkeye and Bruce are like at a toy drive or something.
Yes, at a toy drive.
Yeah.
So basically, he has to save Christmas himself because all the Avengers are busy, and they don't show up until the end where he needs some backup.
Right.
This one ended where Justin Hammer gets called. I think Happy stayed the Freak. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you can reduce it.
Yeah, I don't think he goes back to being Happy.
Yeah.
And then they go off and enjoy Christmas. And then Thor at the end is the one who says like Merry Christmas and Happy New Year or something like that. So this was my favorite because it's a play off one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, and they definitely reference Die Hard a lot. And
whole lot.
It plays just like Die Hard.
I wonder if they have to send them like credit, like or get some sort of clearance. Like, we're gonna do Die Hard if the Avengers style. Do we need permission for this? But that was one of my favorite episodes.
Okay, so episode 4 is What If Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster?
Oh, that's the title of this. I said it very wrong earlier.
I liked this episode. It was not my favorite episode.
Agree.
But I did really enjoy it. So basically, Iron Man gets sucked into the devil's anus because he doesn't. Because the devil's anus is the portal that
in Avengers
shoots you
1
onto Sakaar.
Yes.
We learned that in Thor
Ragnarok.
Yes. There's so many.
Yeah. There are 4.
But basically, instead of it starts off in 2012 when Iron Man is taking the nuke that's about to blow up New York after the war.
So we're in Avengers 1.
Right. So in the movie, he falls through the portal and he leaves the nuke in space. But in this, it's what if he does not come back to Earth?
Right.
So he ends up on Sakaar, and he ends up in the same situation that the Hulk was, basically, where he's put into a rink and made to fight
the Hulk or heroes. Thor. Yep.
Yeah. And I really liked it. We have Mick Ringert still playing the voice of Tony Stark. Jeff Goldblum returns to voice Grandmaster. Tessa Thompson returns to voice Valkyrie. Taika Waititi as Korg. Rachel House plays Topaz, and Josh Brolin returns to voice Thanos. Zoe Saldana did not voice Gamora. They got Cynthia McWilliams to come in and voice Gamora, and she is known for her performances on The Real House Husbands of Hollywood, Prison Break, and Nashville.
Okay. Expanding her legs a little bit.
So things I liked. Still love Grandmaster, Jeff Goldblum.
I don't think there wouldn't have been anybody who they couldn't have got to voice Grandmaster, and it been like, it would have gave me the Captain America effect. Like, who is this and where is Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah. Grandmaster and Topaz coming back was definitely funny. They had the same dynamic that they had in Thor Ragnarok.
You're right.
Where Grandmaster was just very like extra and Topaz was very over it.
Yes. They are a good team.
Yeah. And they also did like this death race thing, like the movie Death Race, where they had the prisoners racing these like mechanical cars or whatever.
Yeah. So Tony wants to leave and go home, but he's kind of like, oh, Grandmaster is an awful person, which he is. And the deal they make is they have to do this race in order for, if Tony wins, he could leave, I think, and if Grandmaster wins, he has to leave. One of them has to leave, I guess, if the other one doesn't win.
So the Grandmaster uses Gamora as his tribute to go up against Iron Man. And in short, he's Iron Man, so of course he wins.
Right. And Gamora's trying to kill Tony because of Thanos.
Right. Because Gamora in this universe is still working for Thanos. She's there was no Guardians of the Galaxy to come convince her that she need to turn over to the
Right. So
good side.
Gamora is still evil, technically.
Yeah. So Tony Stark wins the race. He defeats Grandmaster by touching him with the
gooey stick.
the gooey stick that melts people.
Yes.
And Gamora sees that she doesn't have to be a tool of Thanos, and Tony helps her defeat Thanos early.
Right.
Basically, she tricks Thanos into thinking that she's captured Tony as prisoner, and in reality, it was a coup.
Yes, we basically see Thanos as we saw him at the end of Avengers 1. I think it might have been the after credit scene where he's sitting in a chair on a rock.
Yeah.
We go back to that scene. Gamora has Tony like in handcuffs or something, but they do a little switcheroo and they kill him.
So I really like this episode. I really like that Tessa Thompson returned as Valkyrie. It kind of played the exact same as
it was a
Ragnarok,
mix-up.
But
Yep.
You had different personalities, so the story was different.
A little different.
Yeah.
Yes. I will say we haven't talked about it yet. The animation style I like of this. There was one scene in the later episode where they got real close in on somebody's face, and I was like, this is kind of weird because the nose and the lips were a little off. But otherwise, I like this animation style for What If.
Absolutely. Episode 5. We're halfway through. What if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper?
One of my favorites.
And I think it's one of my favorites because Winter Soldier is still one of my favorite MCU movies. And
It's
this is like
very Winter Soldier.
just like the Grandmaster episode is just like Ragnarok. This one is very just like Winter Soldier.
It's not only like Winter Soldier, I also like the so this one is basically about Captain Peggy Carter, so not Captain America, Captain Peggy Carter and Natasha are trying to figure out what is going on with Steve, who is stuck in the Hydra Stomper.
So just like in Winter Soldier, where it was Steve and Natasha were basically like best friends that worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. It's Captain Carter and Natasha with the same dynamic. And Captain Carter did, and just like Steve did not know that Bucky survived his fight with Hydra, Peggy did not know that Steve also survived his fight with Hydra.
Right, and Natasha and Fury know, but they didn't tell her because they were like, you done been through enough.
Which is just like in Winter Soldier, when they speculated that they knew that the Winter Soldier was always around.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the dynamic between Natasha and Peggy was very good in this. I think I like that. Like you said, it was very much Civil War. Winter Soldier, was very much Winter Soldier. We also get a little bit of Black Widow, the movie, in this with the Red Room.
Yeah, so let's do the cast list. So Samuel Jackson is in this episode voicing Nick Fury. Haley Atwell, of course, is Peggy Carter. Lake Bell, still Natasha. Frank Grillo returns to play Brock Rumlow.
Who is Brock Rum? Oh, I know who he is. Never mind.
Crossbones.
Yep.
Josh Keaton is still Steve Rogers. Sebastian Stan returns to voice Bucky. Rachel Weisz, which I was surprised, is back to voice Melina. I didn't know that she was down to do voice work.
I wasn't surprised, but it took me a second to realize it was her. I was like, what? Because in the movie, she has an accent, basically. So unless you knew she played this character, I don't know if you would have picked up it was her.
I'll save the last one because it's a little bit of a spoiler until we get to the end of the
that makes sense.
Episode explanation. Peggy finds out that Steve survived from season 1, and he's been brainwashed by Hydra, just like
Bucky was.
And it plays out the same, where they have to go. It's like a buddy cop road trip thing, where it's Peggy and Natasha running around trying to find clues on how to save Steve. And Natasha's like, oh, well, if he's being controlled by the Red Room, I know where the Red Room is.
Right.
We
Let's
can just
go
there. And that's where Melina comes into play.
Yep.
And we basically get a mashup of Winter Soldier and a mashup of the Black Widow movie, where
I would agree.
Peggy is off trying to fight Steve in a Hydra Stomper, and Black Widow is off fighting all
bunch
of
of
the
widows,
Red Room, all of the widows
trying
in the
not to
Red
get
Room
killed
at the same time, and Melina.
Right.
And of course, they win Steve over, and he does the self-sacrifice play, where we think. Where he flies off, he flies off to destroy the floating Red Room.
Right.
And he takes Melina with him.
Yes.
And they crash through the Red Room, and it blows up. And it's left with the the teaser that Steve could have possibly survived the explosion.
Right. And I guess the going theme through this is every time Peggy and Steve are in the same episode, Peggy has this thing of like, I gotta go through this again, where one of us, like, we can't, it's basically, are we ever going to be able to be together and be happy? And in every episode it's kind of like,
because the only happy ending the only happy ending they have now is at the end of Endgame.
Right.
That's the only universe we know where they do end up together.
So any episode they show up in together, it's kind of like, oh, this ain't gonna turn out well because y'all just ain't meant to be together, I don't think.
So Black Widow and Captain Carter are like, it's clearly Steve survived the explosion, but he's not well in the head enough to come back, so we're gonna go look for him. And right before they set out to go look for him,
the Queen shows up.
Yes. No. Peggy falls through a portal in the end of the episode, and she ends up in like
a forest of some sort.
1800 or the 1600s.
It's old. It's back in the day.
Because she's been summoned by a Renaissance version of Scarlet Witch.
Woo! Scarlet Witch is back
to help her save a different universe.
Yeah. So Wanda, Maximoff, and Fury, their variants from the 1800s or whatever.
I think it's 1600.
Her character is called Wanda Merlin.
Yes.
Which I hadn't heard of before, but Elizabeth Olsen does voice her, and we get her for about 2 lines, 1 line.
Yes.
It's literally, she says the very last line of the episode, and you get hype, and then the episode's over.
Yeah. Okay. Episode 6. This was also one of my favorite episodes.
Also one of my favorites, and this one was a little touching because you don't really know what... The episode is called Kahhori Reshapes the World. One, Kahhori is new. She has not been in any... I think they just literally created... or created her for this. She is Native American, and the episode is basically about I guess the Tesseract, instead of going wherever it went in the Avengers movie, ends up crash landing in pre-colonial America, so way back in the day. And it lands into like a lake, and Kahhori's people are kind of like, this is a sacred lake. It's a forbidden lake is what it's called. But her and her friend, I don't know if it's her friend or sibling or brother, fall into it, and she ends up landing on the opposite side of, I don't know what the area. It's like it's different like dimension.
It's like a different dimension.
It's like a totally different dimension. But all the people in the dimension, they're still her people. They're like happy. I guess it's implied that they have like died and gone into this different dimension, but it's like carefree, no worries. Everybody gets along, and they have basically superpowers from the Tesseract.
So everybody in this dimension is Native American, but they're also from a different time. It's implied that over time different people have fallen into this lake
and just disappeared,
never returned,
right?
Because the portal to get back is in the sky, and they have all of these powers, but none of them can fly. I thought that was interesting.
You're right. They can't reach it.
The Tesseract, but they can't just fly.
Yeah, Kahhori tries to get back through the portal, and the guy's like, everybody who tries never makes it.
They have telekinesis.
They do,
but they cannot they can't use it on themselves. But
it's really far, and you can't tell, but it's probably like really far in the sky.
I still enjoyed the episode.
I did.
So the cast on this is Devry Jacobs. I'm gonna murder some of these names. Who plays Kahhori, who is the main character in this episode. Kiawentio as Wata. Jeremy White as, I know I'm not going to pronounce this correctly because she does not pronounce it as it is spelled.
Okay.
As Adaracas.
Okay.
There is Gabriel Romero, who plays Rodrigo Alfonso Gonzalo, who I believe is the Frenchman.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, who is that? Maybe he played one of the Spanish conquistadors.
Yeah, I think he's one of the he's one of the Spanish people.
Okay,
the colonizers who come over to terrorize the natives. Clancy Brown returns as Surtur.
Oh, was that Clancy Brown?
Yeah, Clancy Brown played Surtur in Ragnarok.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Clancy Brown returns as Surtur, and there are some other voice actors who play some other minor roles in the episode.
Oh,
Anthony Hopkins does not voice Odin.
I didn't realize that until just now.
Oh, well, no, he does not. So, but basically, everybody all the Native Americans, not everybody, because the Spaniards do end up in the dimension, but they do not get powers.
Yeah. So I guess another part of this episode is that the Spanish colonizers show up and basically try to take over Kahhori's land.
Yeah, because they hear about the magic of the lake. They
call it the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, so the nobody has ever seen the Tesseract because it's just
In
a
the
lake
lake.
now.
Mm-hmm.
But now this is where the origins of the Fountain of Youth come from. This
Right.
magical lake. So the Spaniards came to come take over the lake.
Mm-hmm.
They chase Kahhori. She falls through. All the Native Americans over there have Tesseract powers.
Yes.
But
They don't want to leave either.
they don't want to leave either, which reminds me of Black Panther. When he goes to the astral plane to talk to his ancestors.
Okay.
And he has to tell them, like, y'all.
It's a mess.
Yeah, he's like, it's a mess over in the real world.
You're right. You're right.
And she has to tell her native, a lot of them are her ancestors.
Yeah.
She's like, y'all been over here for way too long.
Kicking
living
it,
in bliss.
chilling.
And
My people is out here about to die.
and that's the same thing. T'Challa had to tell his ancestors, like,
you're right. I
being
didn't make that.
isolated and separating yourself from the world and
Didn't
not
do
doing
good.
anything did not do anybody else any good.
Yeah,
So
I didn't make that connection, but you're right.
I like the fact that she brought them back to the real world to help them fight off the Spaniards, and America was just never colonized.
Yeah, so basically the episode is where Kari reshapes the world because she stops the colonizers from turning them into slaves. And I was like, oh, that hits.
Yeah.
That hit real hard.
So she goes to see the queen at the end of the episode, and she's like, yeah, it's not happening.
It's right. Stay away from my people, and I'm going to leave y'all alone.
She was like, we don't have to be enemies, but you won't
Stay where
be
you
coming
at.
over to take over.
We going to stay where
North.
we at. Right. So that was, the fact that you don't really, I guess you don't realize it until there's a part in the episode where they're like, pack everybody up and put them on a ship. And I was like, hold up. And I think I text you like, are they introducing slavery into the MCU?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is, I like this. I like the whole concept behind all this. Because when they show up, they kick their behinds.
Yeah. So the episode ends on another stinger where Doctor Strange, Supreme Strange, not
Crazy
MCU
Strange. Yes.
but Supreme Strange, who's not crazy anymore because he was part of the multiverse of Avengers in the last episode.
He's not our Strange.
Last season, I'm
right.
sorry.
He's a different Strange.
But he is still the Strange that ate all the other Stranges.
Yes. Crazy Strange.
You're right. He's still semi-demon Strange.
Correct.
He shows up, and that's kind of where the episode ends. So we're kind of left with he's just like Wanda showed up to get Captain Carter. He showed up to get Kahhori. Something obviously is building up.
Right. This one also, these two both ended on a cliffhanger, and you're like, okay, y'all obviously leading up to something.
So episode 7.
It's funny because every episode we like, this was one of my favorites. I think we've said that for like 6 of the 7 that we've talked about.
This one is my favorite episode.
Oh, it's so close contender for me, but I'm with you. I'm with you on this one.
I was ready for this is episode 7. I was ready for episode 8 and 9 to top it, and they were really, really good. But I really enjoyed episode 7.
I would agree.
So episode 7 is what if Hela found the 10 rings? So it kind of plays out the same as Thor 1, where Odin has finished conquering the 9 realms, and
it's like Thor 1 and a touch of Ragnarok.
And I like the fact that they revisited the fact that Odin was a terrorist.
I just said, MCU dads are awful.
Anthony Hopkins
bad
was probably the only reason Odin is portrayed as like a favorable character, because the whole concept of Odin having a daughter strictly for the purpose of conquering different worlds and then banishing her when she was done, he decided to change his mind.
Odin's bad.
And then he did the same exact thing to Thor, but didn't tell Thor that they had an older sister that he did the same exact thing to.
T'Challa's dad was bad.
So I love the fact that they were like, no, Odin is a villain.
Yeah, he was big villain in this.
And basically he's conquered the 9 realms. Hela's like, well, I was made for the purpose of conquering.
So let's go do more conquering.
Let's go do more conquering. Odin's like, no, I'm tired of conquering. So he takes her powerful helmet and the hammer, and he banishes her to Earth, just like he banished Thor to Earth as well.
Yep.
And she runs into, because it's so early in time, she runs into Wenwu,
from
who is
Shang-Chi's
father.
Yep.
Who is the original holder of the 10 rings. And I really like this episode. We'll go over the cast list. Cate Blanchett plays Hela.
Fantastic.
We have Fyodor Chin, who is voicing Wenwu, who did not voice him.
Not the original guy. Yeah. Okay. He did pretty good, though.
Idris Elba, however, did return to play Heimdall. And those are the only returning voice actors.
Yeah, that played the originals You're right. Yep.
Yeah. So Hela is still Hela. She shows up in China, and
her personality in this was hilarious.
Because she's so arrogant.
Yes.
And Cate Blanchett does a really, really good job at voicing her and portraying her.
If you liked Hela in Ragnarok, you will love Hela in this. Because she's literally the same character. I almost think she turned it up a notch, maybe because she had more speaking parts.
She had a lot more comedy.
Yes.
And I really like this episode because the comedy hit in all of these episodes.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't always hit in the movies.
Okay.
But I was like, well, why can't they get the people who write the
why
jokes?
They don't share enough?
Yeah, why don't they?
I don't know.
Why don't they collaborate across the
I
people
feel
who
like
do
they
the
are
shows
going
and the people who do the
to
movies?
Because the shows have been, like, not all of them, but a lot of the recent shows have been doing well. Like Loki, like What If. I think they're going to start borrowing. And it makes sense. They're already in the same umbrella. So, yeah.
So instead of Wenwu meeting Shang-Chi's mom and falling in love with her, he falls in love with Hela.
Yes.
But she's not into it because she's a god. And she's like,
right.
you're
And
just a person.
She's
but
Hela.
But she does want the 10 rings.
Absolutely.
So after unsuccessfully being able to get the 10 rings from Wenwu, she goes on the run and ends up in the forest where Shang-Chi.
Talo.
I think her name is Jai.
Okay.
And she runs into her. And
it's the same. It plays out very similar to how it played in Shang-Chi, which is one of my favorite MCU fights, for sure.
Which sucked because, well, I guess I was like, well, why isn't Michelle Yeoh there? But I guess she wasn't.
She wouldn't be there yet.
She wouldn't be there yet.
I think because Wenwu was like old because the 10 rings extended his life, right?
Michelle Yeoh was his aunt, so.
Oh, you're right.
Maybe they just couldn't get.
Yeah,
her.
they probably just switched it out a little bit.
But Hela goes over there, and just like Shang-Chi learned that their form of martial arts, which is airbending, she goes over there and she's the one who learns how to airbend.
Right.
And she has to prepare Wenwu and the people who live in Talo for Odin to show up because
tear something up.
Odin thinks that their Earth has gotten too powerful.
Yeah.
So he wants to come back and conquer Earth
again. Or I don't know. Odin was on 12 this episode. And I was
Odin
like,
was pretty awful.
I forgot Odin actually wasn't a great guy. And they're showcasing it very well in this episode.
If you think about Thor 1, Thor 1 picks up after he's already had 2 new sons. He stopped conquering so long ago.
We didn't know that until Ragnarok that he was actually tearing stuff up.
Yeah, we didn't know until Cate Blanchett showed up. It was like, actually, your dad was awful.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that they went back to OG Odin where he was awful.
He definitely was awful.
Him be that. But Hela learns that she doesn't have to be a product of her father's making, and she can do whatever she wants. She doesn't have to be the goddess of death and conquer things. She can choose her own path. So her, Jai, Wenwu, all their armies in the 10 Rings fight off Odin and the armies of Asgard.
She turns into Hela the White.
Which
is code for Gandalf the Grey, if you know what that reference is to.
And I don't know, does that make her the goddess of life? Or?
I don't think so. They didn't really give her a new name. I just think she's got a new purpose, but they didn't give her a new name yet.
No. So
hopefully she's in season 3 in her new white get up.
Yeah, and then it ends with her defeating Odin. He gives her the throne, so now she's the queen of Asgard. I guess that's her title.
Yeah, you're right.
And the episode ends where it's her and the armies of Asgard and Wenwu and Jai coming to save Gamora's planet from Thanos' attack.
Oh, yeah, before Thanos actually did his whole let me kill half of Gamora's people and take her.
And I loved that ending.
Yeah, it was different because you kind of forget that these are all also different points of time. And you're like, oh yeah, Gamora would have only been this age. And then you're like, oh, and such wouldn't have been born yet. Or somebody was still trapped in the ice. So you kind of have to remember that, but they do a good job of, I like how they still connect you to stuff you're familiar with.
Yeah, and I like how they did a switch around where everybody who was a villain in the movies was a good guy in this one. Even Wenwu was good because he hadn't met Shang-Chi's mom yet, and she hadn't been murdered, so he didn't go
tear
crazy.
stuff up.
So he didn't go crazy yet.
Yeah.
He was just a regular
He
dude.
was actually pretty good until those people come up and kill his wife, and he was like, "Oh, well, I'm going to burn it down now."
Yeah,
Thanks.
and then he started hearing demon voices or whatever it was.
He did. Shang-Chi, by the way, if you haven't seen, good movie.
Great movie. Great origin movie.
Yes, it was. Very much so.
Okay. Episode 8 and 9, I guess. Well, these episodes are kind of separate, but they do tie together pretty tightly.
They do. So episode 8 is What If the Avengers Assembled in 1602. This wasn't one of my favorites.
It was a little slow for me.
It was a little slow. This one kind of focuses on the fact that Captain Carter, who is now kind of like all-knowing, so she knows the Watcher. Mm-hmm. And we didn't say this in the beginning. If you haven't seen any of the What Ifs, Jeffrey Wright plays the Watcher. So the Watcher is somebody who basically takes you from timeline to timeline saying, well, what if this happened? And let me show you what if this happened. So he's like the overall narrator of the whole season.
So I think all of the Avengers of the multiverse remember him.
Okay.
Because it seems like Supreme Strange remembers him as well.
Because he's existing outside of time as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why.
Anybody that the Watcher pulled out himself,
that makes
they
sense.
Still remember him.
That makes sense.
But the only people we've seen
is Peggy and Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
right?
Doctor Strange.
Okay. This one was a little slow. This one is about there's a...
So it picks up where Peggy gets pulled out of her universe by Wanda Merlin.
So we see Wanda Merlin and Fury, and they want Captain Carter to stop these portals from continuing to open and sucking people into them, and they disappearing. And
but it doesn't say where they go.
It does not.
Yeah.
Thor is the king or his sister, Hela.
So Hela is the queen of
Hela's
Asgard.
the queen, but she gets sucked up into a portal. Mm-hmm. Thor ends up becoming king, but he's mad at Captain Carter because what they brought her there to do, she's not able to do.
Which...
I guess they're incursions. It says here incursions, to stop impending incursion. So maybe she's supposed
like incursions, but all the incursions, every time they do an incursion, it looks different.
They change it.
Yeah, because like the other incursions in Multiverse of Madness, it looked like the world was melting.
Yes.
Or turning into black goo. And now it just seems like
it opened up just like a rip in space.
A vacuum comes and sucks up random things and then closes. And
it's a little different. But in this episode, there's a person called the Forerunner who's basically causing these incursions to happen. Peggy is supposed to find them, find out who it is. She gets all of the Avengers together. So I'll go through the cast list. I won't say names because some of these are repeats, but we got Haley Atwell, we've got Samuel Jackson, we got Elizabeth Olsen, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston is back as Loki. He's not in any other episode. Mark Ruffalo, Jon Favreau. We got the same people who have played Tony, Steve. Paul Rudd is in this one as Scott Lang. Sebastian Stan is back, Benedict Cumberbatch is back, and Lake Bell is back as Natasha. So all of the Avengers and their variations are in this. The episode basically wraps up to find out that Steve Rogers is the Forerunner, and he is the one that's causing the incursions to happen.
I liked that twist. So there are things there,
but it seemed like he knew.
So
I was kind of like,
there are things that I like and there are issues I have with this episode.
Okay.
Issue number 1 is they brought Peggy. This is an issue that isn't just specific to this episode. It's an issue that's specific to the comics and the movies.
Oh.
Where anytime there's like a world-ending threat, and they're like, who is the one hero that can stop this all-powerful
It's always
person?
Captain America?
It's always the weakest Avenger. It's always the one that doesn't...
But they got super serum?
Yeah,
super
the power of hope.
Oh.
And the power of can-do attitude does not save the universe.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't see... And I also had issue with the fact that Thor was upset with Peggy because Wanda brought Peggy over because Wanda said, this is the person I think that can save us.
Yes.
And Peggy clearly has no abilities to close portals.
But Wanda had enough to at least slow it down.
Thor wants to lop Peggy's head off because y'all plucked her from her timeline without her consent, asked her to do the impossible, and because she can't do it, you're blaming her for the incursions happening. Made zero sense.
I will say that I like Thor and Peggy's fight.
I like Thor and Peggy's fight.
And I would have wanted more Wanda in this.
I liked seeing Steve and Peggy fight with the shield.
Yes. The fights in this were
sharing
good.
the shield to fight all of the I forget what the Bumblebee version of Ant-Man is called.
I don't know either, but I was like, what are these little side fake Ant-Mans?
I can't think the guy's name from House of Cards. What was his name?
House of Cards? Mahershala?
No, the one that killed himself by asphyxiating himself in the garage.
Oh, we always forget his name, but I know who you're talking about.
But
bald guy.
He played the villain in the Ant-Man movie.
Yes.
So they're
I always forget his name. Always.
They have like an army of him, and he's fighting under like Thor's banner. So I like the fight where Peggy is fighting like the army of the other Bumblebee shrinking guys, and they're sharing the same shield.
Yep.
And come to find out that Steve is the Forerunner.
You're right.
Because the incursions are happening because
he's not supposed to be there or something, right?
They were like, they're happening because somebody from the future is here. Okay. And they shouldn't be. But also Peggy Carter's from the future.
But
and
they
shouldn't be.
Maybe on purpose. If it's on purpose, it's okay.
I guess. But basically they find out that Steve is the Forerunner.
Okay.
And they're like, well, how did you get here? And Steve says he ended up in 1602 because in Infinity War, when Thanos came to kill Vision and get the last Infinity Store, and all the heroes like do the last stand in the
now I
forest,
remember. Okay.
And he accidentally strikes the time stone
and gets put in a wrong place.
Right.
I forgot that bit of the episode.
So the episode ends where Peggy's like, the only way to save this universe, you have to go back to your universe, and you got to do this
once again.
Go through the whole snap thing,
yes,
and you got to figure out how to do that on your
once
own time.
Again, they're putting the episode, and it don't work out,
and it doesn't work out. So that ends where Steve goes back to his time. The incursions in 1602 are stopped.
Yep,
and Supreme Strange comes to get Peggy Carter to take her off on another adventure.
And I think Peggy's ready to go home. So I think he offers her to take her back to her timeline because she
helps him first.
I is tired of fighting. Please send me back.
And it's not like she's going home to chill. She has to go home to keep looking for Steve. Like y'all pulled her mid-mission. So it's not like she's going home to relax. She still has to go home to do additional fighting anyway.
Right. At least I'm investigating.
So episode 9, what if Strange Supreme intervened?
I did not think that this episode was going to be what it turned into. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. It actually was good.
Yeah, the episode was really good. It just had a lot going on.
It had a ton of going on. So this episode is the finale. I'll go through the cast list just right off the top. Haley Atwell's back. Benedict Cumberbatch is back. Devery Jacobs is back as Kahhori. Kate Blanchett is back. And then who else? Clancy Brown is back. Steve Rogers is in this one, so that voice actor. And then Stanley Tucci is back. As well as Abraham. Who is this?
You have not watched Captain America 1 because he created the...
Oh, yes, he's the doctor.
Yes, you probably only watched
there
it
it is.
once.
There it is. I was like, Stanley Tucci. Yes, he is the doctor from Captain America. Okay, he was in this for like 30 seconds.
At the end of the
episode.
But
fair enough. He should be credited for his work.
So... this picks up off the end of the last episode where Peggy has saved 1602. And Strange is like, great, I can take you back to where you want to go. But before
I got a little favor.
I have a favor to ask you. And he basically tells her that he has been capturing universe killers.
So villains, essentially.
To save other multiverses. And he is telling Captain Carter, I need you to help me stop this one person who I just don't have the ability to stop. Because...
which is strange.
Captain America variants are somehow the most powerful
Avengers.
When he
said that, I was like,
don't get it.
You are Captain... like, you've captured all these other ones. I don't know why you can't get this one, but let's proceed.
Like, I get what Captain America symbolizes.
I get it.
In a world of Thor... in Secret
More
Wars.
Just Thor.
In Secret Wars.
Thor, Black Panther, Ant-Man, Wanda.
In the Secret Wars comics... Dr. Doom creates this new world that are hodgepodges of different multiverses, and he's made himself the god of it. He needs a police, but he's really just like a king. But he needs a police force. So instead of hiring like random people to be the police force, he forms the Thor Corps, and he gives all of these people the power of Thor.
I think you mentioned
so the police
this
corp,
once.
Yeah, so the police corp of this world is just Thors. So nobody commits crimes because there's going to be a Thor showing up to arrest you or do whatever.
And Thor don't play that.
I found it, why not just get a Thor? Like, there are so many other heroes in the world. You don't need a Captain
I get
America
they were
variant.
trying to make Peggy like the connecting thread and all
I
this.
like Peggy Carter.
And I don't mind, like, she's not my favorite, but I definitely did. I liked her more here than I've liked her in any other MCU product.
I didn't like her iteration, and she was mean in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, and I was happy to see Wanda take her out.
She was nothing like Steve in the Multiverse of Madness, but how she portrays herself in the What If is really good. And apparently, Haley Atwell said the only reason she was going to keep returning to be Peggy Carter was if they wrote her where she was modernized in a way that she was like, she felt current.
Right.
She wanted to feel
what's
current.
Interesting is that I think she also came out and said that she didn't like how they did her in Multiverse of Madness, which I'm biased. I love Wanda.
She was mean. She was just kind of like very accusatory. Like this Peggy Carter in What If, this Peggy Carter always tries to talk down the villain and see the good
she's very
in everybody.
sensible.
And in Multiverse of Madness, she was just kind of like,
rude.
This is Doctor Strange's fault and we got to do something about you.
Right.
And her first instinct with Wanda was to kill her, but not talk her down or whatever. So.
But it was interesting how the fans reacted. They were like, oh, we totally understand why she would feel that way about Multiverse of Madness and they wasted her, whatever. They bring her back and basically make her the center of a whole animated season, and people are still like, "Oh, it's too much Captain Carter." Like y'all can't decide what y'all want.
Yeah, because she's exactly like Steve,
which is why I'm glad they don't listen to the fan base sometimes. But anyway, go ahead.
She's exactly like Steve in What If.
Yes,
but
yes.
I just don't get why they think that her or Steve or any Captain America variant
was going to take out Kahhori.
Enough to take out somebody who has the power of the Tesseract.
Yes,
it doesn't make any sense.
So the person Steve wants to try to, Steve is considering Kahhori a universe killer.
Stephen Strange.
Yes, Strange Supreme.
Yes.
Supreme Strange.
I think it's called Strange Supreme.
He basically recruits Captain Carter to go get Kahhori.
Because he's convinced her that Kahhori is the universe killer.
Right.
Which, okay.
We quickly find out that he's talking out the side of his neck.
Right. But
he's a liar.
You have the power of the Tesseract. Of course, you could be perceived as a threat. But I didn't think that Doctor Strange was bad going into it.
That's why I said, yep.
I just thought he spent so much time being awful. He would be able to identify
awfulness.
So I'm like, okay, well, sometimes you have to listen to the villain about other villains.
Right. Right. And that's why I said earlier, I was like, this episode did not go the way I thought it was because I would say maybe 5 or 6 minutes in, you find out Strange is still crazy and he's trying to kill Kahhori because he thinks she is a universe killer. But that's actually not the real reason. He wants to bring back his Earth that or his universe that he destroyed because he wants his girl back, whose name what is his girl's name?
Christine.
There it is.
Yeah.
He wants to bring Christine back. He literally is trying to kill Kahhori and dump all of the villains into this spinning forge. That's like, it's literally a forge. So think of a forge of burning things up.
Yeah, the forge is from comics.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's from comics. He wants to use that to bring his universe back so he can go be with Christine. So Strange is literally the same Strange from season 1 who killed everything because he was trying to save Christine.
So essentially, you ended the last season thinking that he learned the error of his ways after even destroying his own universe, but he just he just realized that there are different ways to get what I want to get.
Basically, he spent all that time finding a new way to get what he always wanted.
So Captain Carter goes to get Kahhori. Kahhori's like, nope.
I ain't down for that.
I'm not going down to that. She's like, he's a liar. He's the universe killer.
Yes.
So unfortunately, it's too late. Strange gets them back to his hideout, whatever, this sanctum that he's created.
Yeah, it's like a sanctum outside of time of some sort.
Outside of time or whatever. And he's trying to imprison Kahhori. And he's got like this trophy room of other...
They're like in little globes.
Universe killers in little globes that he's going to feed to this forge to resurrect his multiverse. And... for the rest of the episode, Captain Carter and Kahhori have to team up to take him down.
Now, in the midst of that, though, I can't think of it if it's Captain Carter or Kahhori who comes up with Captain Carter comes up with the idea to burst all of the globes. Mm-hmm. So all of the universe killers start coming out full size, and they like, hold up, we free.
The room is kind of set up like the prophecy room in the Ministry of Magic.
It is.
So where all the prophecies are like in the little globe. So she breaks all the globes, and you have all of these variants of evil villains. MCU characters.
Yes.
Like, you have a Wild West version of Loki. You have an evil Groot. You have an evil Rocket.
Black Panther Killmonger is back with his Ultron.
Armor.
With his armor and stuff. Still crazy. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. They all still crazy. Like, all the variants that they let go. And she actually has a line in the episode. She was like, okay, releasing all the worst villains of the universe at one time. Not my brightest idea,
but it was a good distraction. It did keep him
because
busy
they was
for
boxing.
a while.
They was boxing with each other.
So while they're we also get Zombie Wanda.
With Zombie Wanda is back. Yep. She's still a zombie.
We get Surtur is back as well.
Yes.
We get original Hela, who's the warden of the zombies.
She seems like it. Yeah, but
they call it a warden.
Hela's always trying to be in charge. So wherever she is, she make herself top dog
for the throne.
Exactly.
So they defeat Strange because Peggy takes the Infinity Armor and she has all the powers of the Infinity Gauntlet against Doctor Strange, who has all the power of all the Stranges.
Yes, because he's Doctor Strange.
Who has all the power of the Tesseract. They defeat Doctor Strange.
Before we get to that, or before we get to the next part, the fight between the three of them,
it was good.
Very good.
Yeah.
I would love, and I don't know how they would do it. It would probably be dumb expensive. I would love to see that in live action.
They did the thing where in Infinity War, Doctor Strange made copies of himself to fight Thanos. He did the same thing here, but Peggy was like, oh, I have the Infinity Gauntlet. I can do the exact same thing. So she did the same thing. So you have an army of Peggy's fighting an army of Doctor Strange. It was a very good fight that I would love to see in the movie. And you have Kahhori running around doing stuff as
tearing it up as well.
Yeah. So I really like that fight as well. You're absolutely correct. It would have to be all CGI.
It would be so expensive.
It would be so expensive.
But it looked good in the animated version.
And to do it correctly without it looking like a mess,
too goofy,
they would have to take a while.
You are right.
So I really did like that. And Strange is basically like, Peggy tries to talk him down, and Strange is basically like, my grief demon is way too strong at this point.
Yes, he actually turns into a demon.
So he kind of does the self-sacrifice thing where he throws himself in the forge to stop himself from, because he knows he can't stop. He doesn't have the strength to stop himself from doing what he's doing.
Right.
And the Watcher comes and shows Peggy that he sacrificed himself, but he did accomplish his goal by sacrificing himself instead, which makes sense, because instead of sacrificing all these different villains, he's already absorbed like all the Stranges. So he has the power enough to bring Christine back himself. But anyway, he sacrifices himself, and his universe comes back.
Yep, with Christine in it.
But
no Strange.
Because he was never born.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he did the whole, I'm going to bring my girl back, but I can't have her scenario. Which was like, oh, but you were crazy. But at least Christine got to come back.
And then Watcher and Peggy have a conversation about how, the Watcher's philosophy is watching and not intervening. But then, of course, there are obviously situations where intervening does do some good.
Right.
And I like the dynamic between Watcher and Peggy. I like the fact that they seem like they have a friendship.
They have a friendship, even though they have opposite philosophies on what to do. The Watcher is still kind of like, you got your style, but I understand your style, but we can still be friends.
Right. Exactly. And the season and the episode ends where Carter asks the Watcher to take her home, but before he takes her home, she would like to
want a tour,
a little bit more adventuring.
She wants a tour of the multiverse,
because he can take her back to whatever period of time.
Exactly.
Where it's basically like she did, so she's not missing anything.
Right.
So yeah.
But you forgot the most important part of this episode is that when he shows her, before they go off on their multiverse adventures, they go to the tree where Loki is sitting all alone by himself. I was like, y'all, this is too soon to show the Loki tree. I don't know the name of it. I would butcher it. But at the end of Loki season 2, where we see that Loki's in the tree that's all green, that he's holding the multiverse together, they show that version of the tree at the very end of the episode, and that's how the whole season closes out.
I guess that's how the Watcher navigates the multiverse now, is through the tree.
Yeah.
So
that's where it is.
I wonder, they already released the teaser for season 3.
Yes,
so
they
I
have.
wonder if they've already planned to tie that in.
I wonder if season 3 is legit just done and they're just waiting for it to just come out, because
I
you're
think
right.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
I think season 3 is completely done. There's like a brief teaser of it, not a full trailer, but I think they made them at the same time.
That would be smart.
I think because COVID impacted the first one so much, they were like, we need to double
Get all y'all. Let me get all y'all right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's anything else about season 3 available. No release date. I did see that America Ferrera is playing a character.
Yeah, she's playing a character in the 3rd season.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the character.
It's a ranger of some sort.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that character.
Okay. They show that character in the teaser. It's Bucky, it's Bill Foster. I don't know who the other guy is. And then it's America Ferrera's ranger character.
She could be a new character just like Kahhori was.
Okay. I dig it. They're doing good with the new character, so I wouldn't be mad at it.
So, on to the rest of the review. Favorite characters?
I like seeing Thor a lot in this.
Thor was in it a lot, yeah.
I like seeing that. I liked Kahhori, the new character. My favorite would have been Hela.
Yeah, Hela was definitely my favorite this season.
Yes.
She was also in it a lot. Like she had her own episode, but then she made like cameos in a bunch of different episodes as well.
I'm gonna give the nod to Hela.
I also liked. Why am I drawing a blank? We said Thor,
Hela, Kahhori.
Oh, the Watcher. I like the Watcher. He wasn't in, other than narrating, he wasn't in too many episodes until the end. But
right.
He only really interacted with Peggy, and I liked his back and forth with Peggy, where he would narrate and she would turn around like, "I hear you."
Yes.
And he's like, "Wait, what?"
She did that a couple of times.
He was like, "Wait, do you always hear him?" She was like, "No, I hear you sometimes." And then she was like, "Do you need something? Because I'm busy."
Right. She's like, "Can I help you, sir? I got a job to do."
I'm kind of busy right now.
I also liked Black Widow in this, the few times she showed up.
They do a really good job with Black Widow. She's not different, which is strange.
She's not. It almost makes me miss the fact that Black Widow is not is not in the franchise anymore.
Because even they put her in different scenarios with different people, or the same scenario with a different person, and she's still the. She got the
still nonchalant. I know I can do what I'm gonna do. Let me go off and do it.
Yeah, even when she was fighting all the widows, she didn't seem like pressured at all, or in the what if Happy Hogan saved Christmas episode when Happy tries to call her for help and she's like, "I'm literally at gunpoint right now," and he was like, "Oh, you need help?" She's like, "No," she was like, "I got it."
He literally hangs up like, "She'll be fine."
And then when she tells the girl, when she has like some back and forth with the girl that has her at gunpoint, and she was like, "Oh, she killed so and so," and she's like, "Oh, I killed this person too." She's like, "Oh, not good for you."
Yes. I kind of miss Natasha. I will say that. I do.
Any characters that you didn't like or didn't care for? I don't think so.
No, not really. Even the one episode that I liked the least, Peter Quill episode. I like the fact that they had like the older Avengers characters. So even in my least liked episode, I still liked everybody.
Was there anything that you would change?
I still would have made it 12 Days of Christmas, but that's just me. That's the only thing.
No, I mean, I'm thinking
they had to have 3 in a deck.
I don't think the original plan was to release it in Christmas. I think it was the pandemic that forced it back. Because I think if they released it any other point of the year, it would just been 9 episodes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say releasing them. I don't know if we mentioned this. They released them one at a time every day. So every day for 9 days, they release a new episode. I don't really I thought I would hate it. I was like, this is ridiculous. But it actually wasn't too bad.
I didn't like it, but I do think that's too frequent.
Yeah, I think
every day a new episode.
I think they're literally just playing around with stuff. I don't think they're going to make this a thing. But it was cool because I was able to watch like the 4 and catch up. And then I was like, okay, I'm caught up. And then I could wait a couple more days and get 4 more.
They should do like 2 episodes a week. Because sometimes I remember when WandaVision and Loki and sometimes one episode a week feels like an eternity between the
for
episodes,
WandaVision,
especially
for
when
sure.
they're good.
Oof.
Especially when they're good episodes, it
So
feels like an
hard.
eternity. So they were like, okay, well, let's test giving them not all at once, but just
drip, drip,
a
literal
and I was
drip.
Like, that's too frequent because I don't have the same schedule Monday to
Yes,
Friday.
right.
What I have to do changes per day, so I wasn't able to watch them each day.
And I'm pretty sure they did it because it was holiday and people were like off and stuff. I don't know. I would be curious if they try this again.
They should do like Tuesdays and Thursday releases or something.
Or just do 2 at a time.
Or do 2 at a time.
That could also work.
Yeah.
It was different. I thought I would hate it, but it wasn't that bad. So I wouldn't change that.
I wouldn't change it, but it was too frequent for me to keep up with.
Gotcha.
I was, as an adult, I just can't pencil out an hour each day.
I will say people that showed up on our Twitter feed did a very decent job of not spoiling it.
Yeah.
I wasn't spoiled for any of it.
No.
Even images that people would show, I'd be like, I don't know what this is in reference to, but that's okay because they didn't spoil it.
I did like the season better than last season, though.
Agree.
And I think that's just because they introduced more characters and they got a little bit weirder with the variants. Like Wanda Merlin was very weird.
Yes.
The Happy Hogan
The
Hulk
freak.
was weird. They definitely stretched with their imagination a little bit more.
It seems like they did a good job of borrowing from American culture movies and also borrowing from their own movies.
And they even did a good job with characters who already are weird, like Howard the Duck. And
yes, that was weird.
His episode with Nebula, where he basically was like we said, Xandar turned into Gotham City. Howard the Duck was basically the Penguin, where the only thing he cared about was his running his club
and his liquor license.
Yeah, until Nebula was like, if Ronan takes over Xandar, you're going to lose your liquor license.
He was like, suit up, clank, clank.
So I love that. I don't think there's anything else I would change. The pacing was good. Even the episodes that weren't my favorite weren't bad.
I would have had more Wanda. But that's biased. That just might be me. I would have had more Wanda, and I think hopefully next season they add more other characters, like more of the more recent people, like Shang-Chi, Falcon, Kate Bishop, any of those. So that would be cool.
We're done with the Peggy focus. And it's not because I tired of Peggy, but I would like to see them do other characters.
Yes, absolutely.
We've now had 2 seasons where you've kind of centered it and wrapped it around Peggy Carter.
Either Peggy and or Captain America. Yeah, so hopefully the focus next season changes for sure.
Yeah. Who would like this? If you like the MCU or comic book material,
it's also good for kids.
It is good for kids because it's fun and the themes can be deep and serious, but it doesn't get dark. Like the Strange stuff was deep and kind of dark, but it wasn't any more adult than like any type of kids show where you have a villain that needed to be stopped.
I think the Strange episode last season was more dark.
There was nothing as dark as watching Christine melt away
over and over and dying over and over
or
again.
Watching Strange kill different versions of himself. It never got that dark.
Or Killmonger taking Tony out. I was like, God, Killmonger bad everywhere.
Yeah, so it never. Now I think about it, it definitely wasn't as dark as last season. It was a lot more lighthearted, even when things were going wrong. Yeah. Fave line or favorite scene? I said mine, which is when the Watcher didn't know Peggy could hear him narrate. Oh, that was my favorite.
Favorite line? Oh, my favorite line would be when Hela was going through the forest to get to Tallow or to get wherever she was going, and she says, I'm not going to be taken out by no foliage. She didn't say it like that, like I'm putting my own spin on it, but she was basically like, I'm not about to die out here in no forest. Like, you need to get me up out of here.
She had some of the best lines when she, Shang-Chi's mom was teaching her how to airbend with the leaves. And she was like, this is great. Right. But what if we can, instead of leaves, knives? She was like, or fire. Or knives ablaze.
Yes. She wanted to fight with fiery knives. She had a lot of favors, but I'm a plant person. So when she said she's not getting taken out by foliage, hilarious.
I loved when she came back to help Wenwu fight off Odin. And he was like, I love the look. Kind of like the dress more.
Yes, because he had her in a full dress and she was like, what is this? Because he was trying to marry her and she was like, I'm not down for the cause, but I go along with it to get your power because I want them rings is what I want.
Let's see. Final words about the show and our rating.
I like this better than season 1. If you liked season 1, you will like this. And it's nice to watch MCU content that's not connected to anything. As much as I love trying to connect the dots and finding Easter eggs, that is also fun.
I think the only direct connection was the Steve Infinity War thing in the second to last episode.
Yeah, and I guess Loki in the tree. That is somewhat. You would have had to have known why that was significant.
2 5-second moments out of the 9 episodes.
Right.
The rest of it exists as its own thing.
Yeah, so I think it's worth the watch, worth the stream. You actually don't have to watch this if you don't want to, but it is a good time, and I like the animation style.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, you don't have to watch this because even though we had Peggy Carter in Multiverse of Madness, that is not the same Peggy Carter that's in this show.
Absolutely not.
No,
and she's dead.
And she is dead. Yes. So that is our review on What If. Spoiler alert. We loved it.
We did.
Yeah.
I would watch this. Maybe not all the episodes, but I would probably watch a couple of those again.
There are definitely some favorite episodes.
I would definitely watch the Hela episode again.
And if they ever put it on physical, like the seasons, I would absolutely get the physical.
I said this last episode, I'm about to start my DVD collection, and I need another Amazon Prime sale because they put all the DVDs on.
And speaking of physical, where is Captain Marvel? On streaming or physical? Because I was sitting.
Are you talking about the Marvels?
Yeah, the Marvels.
You listen. Let me tell you something.
Yesterday. I could not find anything to watch, and I was like, you know what? I really wish I could watch the Marvels.
I finished
now,
up,
but I can't because Disney refuses to release it.
Listen, I was just about to say, if it doesn't matter what something does at the box office, it seems like with Marvel stuff. I won't say other Disney properties. Marvel is like, we are not putting this out no sooner than we was already gonna do it. So Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, they will literally wait their typical schedule. That whole day and date streaming stuff over. That whole things coming out sooner on Disney Plus over. It ain't even out on digital yet. You already know it goes digital, then it goes DVD, and then it goes Disney Plus. They haven't said anything about a digital, but you are right, because I'm getting that steelbook.
Yeah, I'm getting the physical because you made a good point. Streaming will be dead by 2030.
RIP. Put it on it right now.
Streaming will be done. We will not have streaming services anymore. Everything that's digital, they're already like ghost deleting shows and not mentioning it and waiting until somebody else mentions it, and then they're like, "Oh, it was a mistake."
By the way, Control Z.
We accidentally deleted Watchmen and didn't make an announcement about it
until somebody
noticed that Watchmen was gone off our platform.
So you're right. This is how I know we are related, because I too was wondering when it was coming out.
I guess we could have mentioned in movie news on this topic how Blockbuster is doing away with physical.
Best Buy,
not Blockbuster. Oh man, I'm old.
You are old. I was like, did he just say Blockbuster? I'm gonna let him roll with it though.
Same colors and font,
and they both start with B. So sure.
Best Buy is getting rid of physical.
When we went to Best Buy, I went to Best Buy recently because, I know why I went to Best Buy.
We went to look for podcast equipment.
We did, and I went to go see how big the MacBook Airs are. But anyway, the DVD section it's been getting sparse. Like, it's super sparse.
Now it's gone.
Right. I bought The Little Mermaid on Black Friday because they had it on sale. But even then, the DVD section was looking scarce.
Yeah, most of the DVDs weren't even new movies. They were like old movies that they, for some reason, re-released in steelbooks or as platinum sets. They were like
$30.
They had like horror classic like Jaws and stuff on sale in a steelbook. And I'm
40th anniversary version. No, y'all not getting me with that.
So if you're listening to this, it's time to stock up. That it's time to buy you a new bookshelf.
Right. Not only that,
and rebuild that DVD collection.
Not only rebuild the DVD collection, but the streaming services prices keep going up,
and the content isn't getting any better. I had noticed. I posted the other day about how Netflix does their top 10 watched original shows, or whatever, original or acquired, and none of Netflix original shows or Netflix original movies are consistently in the top 10. The top 10 is always like NCIS or Grey's Anatomy or something from a different
that they got the rights to put on streaming.
But nothing is ever on the top 10 consistently that comes from Netflix. And the prices are continuing to go up.
Yeah.
Because Netflix is spending all this money making
buying franchises.
Buying franchises or spending all this money making movies that are Netflix original movies or Netflix original series that people watch once and never pick up again. So why are you increasing the prices if nobody's even watching your own stuff?
Greedy.
But you know who aren't the ones who are putting Grey's Anatomy in the top 10?
What?
The people who buy the DVD sets.
Nope. I still got season 1 somewhere.
Yeah.
And I've watched that repeatedly.
If you love Grey's Anatomy that much, you can buy the full season, the full series for like $60 and never have to pay $20 a month to Netflix again. If that's the only reason you have Netflix.
The reason why I bought Parks and Rec, the full season on DVD is because I could not find it anywhere.
Only on Peacock.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And you bought Parks and Rec for how much?
It was on sale, so it might have been, I don't know, $20, $30.
You
maybe.
Paid a one-time purchase of $20 to $30.
Always mine. I can pass it to my children.
Instead of paying a monthly subscription to Peacock when the only thing you really want to watch is Parks and Rec.
I'm about to say, I don't even know what else is on Peacock. And I'm not subscribing to literally anything else.
Build up those DVD sets. I saw somebody was like, I'm not going back to collecting a bunch of useless DVDs when I can just turn on my computer. Literally, one day you won't be able to.
Nope. What if somebody steals it?
Yeah, like they're already doing it with video games. Like there are video games that you just can't buy anymore anywhere because they
just gone.
They released it on digital and then all the physical copies got sold and then they decided to stop putting it out on digital.
Oh, I'm sure that happens with tons of movies and tons of video games.
Yeah, so
buy your DVDs, folks.
Buy your DVDs. One day the servers are going to go down.
Pew.
And
you're not going to want to buy another subscription service.
No, exactly.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to make a subscription service of the vault. And it's just going to be a bunch of old things you can't get anywhere else.
That were thrown into the void.
They should
call it the Forge.
There it is. And you're going to have to pay $60 a month to watch all these old things that are not anywhere else because you didn't buy a DVD.
Yeah, so.
All right.
That is
our rant, our end of our DVD rant.
We didn't have movie news, so we had to put a rant at the end.
There we go.
That is the end of our review on What If and our episode 22. Yay!
23.
This is 23.
Yes.
Oh,
look,
episode 23.
We're going faster than you can keep up.
Next episode, what are we going to cover?
We actually have a movie.
Yay!
I don't know if we'll have any news. We don't know if we have news until the news happens. But next episode, we will be watching talking about the Book of Clarence, which is funny because when this first was announced, it seemed so far away, and it's literally now about to be out. They had the world premiere, I think. I saw some pictures. Maybe yesterday. And then we'll also talk about Echo, which comes out the 9th, and that all drops at once. So we'll have a task on our hands.
So that's 5 episodes. I don't know the episode length. Is it an hour or is it 30 minutes?
That's a very good question. I feel like it's going to be longer than 30 and shorter than an hour. We got to, so we got to watch Echo.
Either I'm going to watch it. So yes, we will be covering Echo. I don't know if I'm going to binge it all at once, but it depends on how good that first episode is because I think the Daredevil appearance is in the first episode. And they've been really hyping up like
they've been doing pretty good on marketing, I would say.
Yeah, that poster, the ASL poster that they came out with.
Yes, there is a Echo poster that has Echo spelled out in sign language. I love it. It's really good. It's different. I love it.
So that is the end of the episode, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to share our episode and our podcast with your friends and leave us a review on our website or on your favorite podcast app.
All right. Till next time.
Bye.